Hey now, and how are you doing? Want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Today we're going to hear about life rewritten. We're going to talk to my friend Carrie, and we're going to make sure we know what's going on and how we can rewrite the stories of our life. How are you doing today, Carrie?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent, and I'm happy to be here and glad to see you again.
Yeah, we had a little challenge. I've been having some computer issues. Man, everything that goes on, it's life. Again, first world problems, but it's amazing how much when we lose our computer and then the different pieces, we won't go too deep into it, but part of the story was that I bought a secondhand computer, and Apple, once you buy a secondhand, it's the first email that's attached to the computer. And because I don't know who it was, I couldn't get through all the different security pieces, and they couldn't even rewrite I lost everything on the computer, and which is slightly devastating, but also teaches me a lesson in rewriting and backing up the things that we need to be backed up.
Oh yeah, I've been there, done that. Have too many of the t-shirts that said, "Stupid, I didn't back it up and I lost it all." And as a writer, how many times have I not saved a document and lost all my brilliant work? I mean, ugh.
Yeah, that's where with my writing right now, I've started doing a lot of stuff on the Google Drive, so that way I don't have to remember. Right? It used to be the joke, Jesus saves, and you better save, or you're going to lose everything. Back in the day, you and I are old enough to remember that. So I always think about that now with the auto saves, that I make sure that we save and save and then save some more.
I do have one question about that though. Why is it when it's the most brilliant sentence you've ever written that you know is going to change the world and touch everybody who reads it? Why is it always that one that you don't save and you lose the document? And I mean, I don't know what that's about, but
Well, I think what it's about is one, it's Murphy's Law, but secondly, it's to get us to focus more. Whenever I've been experiencing some challenges lately, I go, man, I must be close. The devil's pushing a little further back on me.
that's true. That
You
is
know,
true.
it's
That
that 3 feet from gold. Would you give up if you knew you were 3 feet from gold? And we never know when we are 3 feet from gold until
yeah.
you hit the gold mine.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. You must have read my book. That's one of my whole chapters about conflict and challenges and crises.
Well,
So,
let's talk about a little bit about uh, Life Rewritten. And congratulations, you're an Amazon #1 bestseller. That's
yeah,
awesome. How'd that feel? Was that the first time that you became that for a solo book?
yeah, yeah, that was the first time. And
Congratulations.
I got to tell you, it feels pretty good. Feels pretty good.
Hell
So,
yeah. Hell yeah. I remember the first time I did that on my own, I was like, wow. I've been in part of compilation books that have gone #1, but to have one on your own, that's really on your shoulders.
yeah, yeah, no,
How'd that feel?
it was amazing. I mean, I will tell you, the night before I couldn't sleep, and I knew it was launching, and I couldn't sleep, and I had done all my social media plans. I'd reached out to everybody and their brothers. And I'm lucky in that my partner is from England, so his family and all of our friends are over there. So I had a little bit of a heads up to get the international portion. And of course, so I was up before the crack of dawn to make sure I got to all of them early in the morning, which from California, it's an 8-hour time difference. So believe me, I was up early. And of course, I'm calling them all. Did you buy the book? 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 Did you book? If they thought I was a crazy American before this, they know it now. So
See, I wouldn't know about Crazy America. I think you're motivated and you're excited to share your message. So tell us a little bit about the book, what it's. I mean, the title kind of says for itself, but what does it mean to you? What does Life Rewritten means to you?
well, the book is three books in one. It's part memoir. I talk about my story. Each chapter starts with a segment from my life, and then the second part is about storytelling because there's a branch of psychology called narrative therapy,
Mhm.
and I look at it a different way. because of my experience in the entertainment industry and as a storyteller, I came to the conclusion that, our lives are pretty much stories. We can organize them as stories. And so after I talk a little bit about myself, then I talk about the story element, like a story arc, or what's the plot, or who are the characters, who are your villains, and who are your heroes. And so I go into a bit of the story element and show through the example of my story how that plays out. And then the third section is a how-to book. Because one of the things I didn't want to do was, you write a book and then you tell people, and then buy the workbook that goes with it. Nah, let's put it all together.
I'm with you. Well, I that's where I go. I'm not the greatest business person because I'd rather just give it to you all at once. I'm
Yeah.
not looking to, now buy my keychain, now buy, all these things. If I'm really being, aligned with myself. I just want to give the people the information they need or that they could use for themselves.
Yeah.
It's not all about me teaching them. It's about them teaching them through the words that I've given them, that I've offered up for healing.
Yes, and I've been a big proponent. I've been on a journey of healing and discovery for most of my life. I had a very rough beginning and I needed to do something. I hit rock bottom real fast and I had to come out of that and make it here today. And so I've been therapy, self-help, personal development, meditation. I've tried everything. And what I realized was there is not a one size fits all. And there isn't anything that I will tell you that worked in my life that if you follow it exactly like I tell you, it will work for you. No, no, it won't. You need to make your way with what will work for you. So when I offer these suggestions, it's always with the idea of take it or leave it. See if it fits. Don't just swallow this pill because I said it worked for me. This needs to work for you. And so it interestingly enough, that's resonating with people. The feedback I'm getting, the information I'm getting is mostly that when the readers looked at their life as a story and saw their parents differently, they looked at them through new lenses and saw their antagonists. If we're the protagonist of our story, who's your antagonist that caused you grief? When you can look at that antagonist and see them as a character in a story, somehow that alleviates this energetic tug we've had on it. And so I've gotten a lot of feedback from people saying it really helped them shift their perspective on what went on in their life. And it showed them how determined they were to grow and change and be different. So the level of determination you find out about yourself is powerful. So
Yeah, no, that's part of that storytelling. And not always. I mean, I know a little bit about your story. We talked previously, but not all everybody has had a situation where somebody purposely tries to hurt them or purposely, it might be, hey, I had an argument and we have different points of view, and you're a horrible person, I'm a horrible person, whatever in the argument. Somebody needs a victim, somebody needs a victor in the story. How do you cope? How would you suggest people to I kind of identify that or be brave enough to do that deep dive in seeing the other person's point of view when it's not a malicious, attack, which is not your story.
yeah, no, no, my story. And honestly, I came to the point where it wasn't that what happened to me was intentional. I don't think, my parents died when I was younger, which was in many ways a gift because it gave me the impetus to heal. It, what they did, their behavior was the result of their own stories. My parents were first generation Americans my dad was from Italy, my mom was from Eastern Europe, Serbia. So they came with this prepackaged notion of what life was like. Women need to be, they had gender identification, different gender roles. My mom wanted me to get married almost from the day I was born. Get married, get married, get married, have kids. They really tried to drill that into my head. On the other hand, my mom had mental health issues that I knew about, but didn't relate to them until I was in my 20s. I couldn't understand them. And so when we understand now about postpartum depression and everything, my mom could not cope with having a baby, and that was me. And unfortunately, I was the target of some of her damage. So when she didn't want to feed me or she didn't want to deal with me, that it wasn't like she purposely wanted to hurt me. I
Right.
think she was so much in her own personal trauma from her upbringing, from the stuff that was done to her. Does it make it right? No. I mean, she could have, if she had the tools, she could have
Yep.
done something. She didn't have the tools. So it becomes a choice. When you realize that, you look at this, you're at this crossroad, you got a choice. I can continue to live blaming her for my crappy life,
Right.
or I can forgive her. And forgiveness, we all know this, forgiveness sets you free.
100%.
Forgiveness is not about saying what you did is right or wrong. It's about you saying, I'm going to choose this path to move on and have a successful life. I'm going to forgive you and walk away from this jail cell that I put myself in. What do they say when you keep blaming people? It's like you're trying to poison them, but the only one that's getting hurt is you.
Yeah, yeah. When you hold on to your anger, yeah, when you hold on to your anger, it's like taking poison, hoping they get sick.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Hoping they get sick. I'm going to take this poison, hoping you suffer.
Right.
And then when you're gone, when the parents are gone, or your antagonist is gone, uh, who are you going to do battle with? So I kept recreating antagonists that had carried on the same role of rejecting me, and I would go crazy and want to be friends with all these people that wanted nothing to do with me. And I realized, oh my God, I'm still trying to get my mom's attention.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't realize, but that's the brave part that I always talk about is really seeing and actually acting in what we do.
Yep.
Not everybody goes, okay, what happened? We have a protagonist, we're the protagonist, so it's always these people treated me wrong, this happened, and it's only when we're able to kind of learn the things that we need to learn do we then take it on a different level.
Yes. Yes. Well, unfortunately, I think a lot of us have to hit rock bottom
Yes.
before we see that we can change. And I love it now that I'm getting the attention of some people who haven't hit rock bottom, but they're just not comfortable. When you're not comfortable in your skin, where you're not, where you don't wake up every day excited. And even though you might be having a bad day, the undercurrent needs to be, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And what we don't understand is that there's always a story running. If you can take even a minute and try to clear your head, it is the hardest thing. A minute seems to be a lifetime. If you just want to have absolutely no thought and just sit for a minute, it's near impossible to do because you come up with a laundry list. I got to get the groceries. I've got to get this done. I want to do this. Or I don't know if you're like me. I have songs that run through my head all the time. And I know the songs are an indication of where I am in my life. Like my next book, Love Rewritten, I'm working on that now. And all these love songs come up in my head. The teen angst songs that I know from my teenage years about,
Yeah.
Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it?
Yeah.
They're all playing in my head because I'm writing about love now, Love Rewritten. So when that happens, those give you a clue of where you are in your life. Are you happy? Are you excited? Are you looking forward to the day? Or are you just waking up and saying, this is going to be another goddamn day?
Well, that's the thing is part of life is how you take that, right? They always go, they talk about the power of the pause. I never understood that. You get into an argument, even with your partner, with your kids or anything like that. You might say things, and now I'm able to stop myself much quicker than I ever did. And then I go, I need a second. I need that time, and then I can kind of communicate in the way that I need to. I wish I would have been able to do that earlier in my life, but some of that is just age, and a lot of that is learning. So I'm teaching my kids who are still young enough, or at least offering them opportunities in their 20s that I didn't have to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
That building up that flex muscle on practicing the pause.
So powerful. The pause is so powerful. And we forget that we're not called human doing. We're called human being.
Yep.
And I almost want to say a human we are a human pausing.
Yep.
We 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 forget that. We're so caught up in the day to day activities that's going on. And it doesn't help that right now the world is in complete chaos and things just feel like, I get a lot of text from friends that's like, "Did you see the news? Did you see this?" And it's like, no. I don't want to add to that angst in the world. There's enough on a personal level. Again, that's my choice. I'm not telling people to not read the
Right.
news.
Yeah.
Um, but my partner is also big on the news, so he gives me the highlights every day. Um,
You're not going to
but
miss anything. Yeah.
no, no. Well, do we ever? Come on, you can't pick up your phone anymore without getting some headline on some news story. So, so I just don't want to immerse myself in it because I can't impact it. There isn't anything I can do to impact the politics of the world
Right.
or a lot of this divisiveness. What I can do to impact the divisiveness is reach out to the people around me that I do interact with and make sure they know that I don't care what you believe in or what your politics are. I see you as a member of my community, and so I respect and accept you. That's what I can do towards it.
Right. And that's that rewriting also, because in today's society, we very quickly go, are you blue, green, yellow, purple, whatever that is, and I then judge you, and I'm like,
Yes.
you can't judge me by one, how I vote, because I vote very, I'm more middle ground, to be honest, and
Mhm.
but my thought patterns are completely different on every topic. I'm a thinking human being, and that's how I've gotten through, and people try to get me to say things that I don't, and I'm like, no, but that's how I've rewritten stories for people. I go,
Yes.
no, we're all not the same. I go, much like all Oreo cookies are not the same thing for human beings, and we're a little bit more important. We're a lot more important than Oreo cookie. Well, maybe not a lot,
Wait a
but
minute,
yeah,
wait a minute, wait a
yeah, yeah,
minute, wait,
yeah.
wait a minute. Let's talk about that one. Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. And it's interesting. This is interesting. When after one of the election cycles, I was talking to somebody about the original stories were given. When you're a baby and you come into this family, you do not know what their beliefs are or what anything that they are about and what life crises are going on for them. And
Right.
so you're this blank, newborn, fresh, complete blank slate, and all of a sudden you have an instinct. We have instincts that say we have to survive. And one of the ways to survive is to get a sense of belonging. And the way we get a sense of belonging is by feeling like we are the same as the people around us. So, right from the very beginning, our sense of belonging comes from feeling like we are like the people around us. That's why you pick up your language. We speak English. That's what we heard in our household.
Yeah.
Because my dad was from Italy, mom was from Serbia. I had three languages that I knew at a very, very young age. I don't remember. I mean, I can pick up words now, but I can't speak them, can't understand them. but that's how you start to get your identity. You start to get a sense of who you are by these stories. So after one political cycle, I was talking to somebody about rewriting, and young woman, she's lovely. And she said, well, what do I do? The people here don't like me. Why don't they like you? Well, because I voted Republican in the election. I said, okay. And she said, is it okay that I did that? And I said, that's your choice. And she said, well, it isn't. My parents are Republican and they said I have to vote Republican. I said, okay, so it wasn't your choice. No, well, they told me I had to do that because this is our family are
Right.
Republicans and that's who we are. Now, is that true?
No,
So I
it's
didn't
true
care
for
who
her
you,
because of the fact patterns, right? That's where we dive down is it true for you? And that's where, as human beings, we create those limiting beliefs.
and to me, a limiting belief is a story we've been given.
For sure.
So I said, if this doesn't fit for you, and see, this is where the rewriting process can start. When you start to question that, why am I doing that? Am I doing that? Again, here's another one. This is urban legend. Cooking, there's a Thanksgiving gathering, and the little girl goes to her mom and says, why did you cut off the ends of the ham before you put it in the pan? And the mom said, well, that's what my mom did. So the little girl goes to her grandmother. Well, why did you do that? Because that's what my mom did. So she goes to her great grandmother. Well, why did you do that? And the great grandmother is all choking, well, that's so the damn thing would fit in the pan. So we follow these things without question because that's our sense of belonging. That's our sense of identity.
Yep.
And when you challenge that, then you have to go, who the hell am I?
100%. You need to have those communications, but you have to then do that deep dive, and that's where I've gone back. I didn't have a great relationship with my dad most of his life, most of our lives. And towards the end, because he had dementia, I met him where he was at, and now that he's passed, he comes to me. Some of the knowledge was differently. Like I said, he wasn't wrong. His methods of teaching were definitely needed to be improvement. But how did he learn? And that's where I've gone back on all those things to try to find that layer of peace for me because it really matters our story. So even if you when your story and
Yes.
I heard because I know some of your background in the story you've shared, but that you've been able to rewrite even the pieces that were very hard to overcome, very hard to see another way out of it, but you still did. And so, how do you do that? How does one start taking that deep dive in a dark place?
Well, there's any number of techniques. A lot of people talk about journaling. I also would suggest if journaling's not your thing, try imaging.
Mm.
Try cutting out pictures of magazines or drawing them, even if you start with stick figures, drawing them and getting an understanding of your psyche. Where are you? The other thing I suggest is talk to somebody. Get a coach, get a personal trainer, even a personal trainer can help you while you're working out. Go to therapy. Start to ask the questions about how do I find out who I am? How do I discover myself? And there's tons of techniques. Like I said, I offer, because I come at it from a storytelling and thinking of your life as a big, great, epic movie, and I always ask my clients, in a movie about your life, who would play you? Who would star as you in the movie about your life? And it's funny, there are some of the stories in my life, and there's a lot of scripts like this because I used to read scripts and do story development. Um, I still read scripts for some of my writing clients, but there are some characters in scripts that are like second person in the back row, or quiet bar patron sitting at the bar. And there were some stories in my life that was me, that I wasn't even one of the leading characters in my own story. So if you think about who would play you. Sometimes I have clients tell me big A-list movie stars. Other times it's a character person. Like this one guy told me he was Joe Pesci. And it's like, huh, that's interesting. I don't, he was a very quiet young man. And it's like, Joe Pesci, why's that? And I think he aspired. I think he loved that Joe Pesci, he saw him as young as scrappy, and he wanted to be scrappy, whereas he was so quiet and introverted. And I thought that's really interesting. So it was a pathway out. It was a way to start to have the conversation. And that's what I think a lot of people struggle with is, where do I
Yeah.
begin? Where do I begin? I struggle with a blank piece of paper. So talk to me. How can I figure this out?
100%. I think that's the challenge that we all ha experience is where do we start? And that's sometimes you just got to start where you are. So if I, like when I tell people to do different things, some people might want to do the skydiving and, feel that rush. Others are
Yeah.
like, I want to be firm on the ground and I want to sing. Both of those would not work well for me. I'm
Yeah.
uncomfortable doing either of those. But for me, I don't mind climbing a mountain and taking photo, doing some pictures.
Yeah.
And where people go, how could you do that? You have to be quiet and wait for that right moment. That suits my purpose. How'd you find what worked for you?
It was in film school after, and I'd already been on my journey, but can I go back to something? Because you said something really
Sure, of
important.
course. Yeah.
You have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
I don't want to try to make people feel like they have to be where I want them to be. Let me come to you. Let me meet you where you are.
Yep.
And in my specific journey, to get back to your question about what happened with me, I think I was already primed for it, for this realization. And I think this is why it's important that when you have a challenge or a crisis or something comes up, you don't write it off. It's like you said, you might be 3 feet away from your goal. So when it feels like the devil is like right there, it's this last thing. So I was trying everything. And even though I wasn't feeling like anything was sticking, but I had all this information in my head. And there I was in film school, and I was already feeling like, wow, how did I get it? I mean, I went to the American Film Institute, which I realized later was incredibly prestigious. And if I would have known it at the time, I probably wouldn't have applied because I had such low self-esteem. I
Mhm.
never could imagine me in a place with, and a lot of people I went to school with are now famous directors. You would know their names. So if I would have known this at the time, I probably wouldn't have applied because I had no self-esteem whatsoever. But here we were going over our first movie project, and the group of us, because you broke off into teams, and we were talking about, okay, what's the theme of this story? What's the plot? Who's our main characters? What's this journey we're taking this character on? And what's the theme? Well, the theme is, you have to work hard and then you can still fail like a lot of people do. And the character and he on this journey, they are going to meet this challenge and this challenge and this challenge, and hopefully they'll learn from it. And if they do learn from it, they will achieve their goal. If they don't learn from it, they're going to crash and burn. All of a sudden this light went on, and then somebody said, well, wait a minute, I don't like that ending, I want it to go this way. And I went, huh, that's my life.
Yep.
I am the hero or heroine of my story, and I have been dealing with all these challenges. And in many ways, it's like forging me. It's honing these skills so that I can be a happier, more fulfilled person if I want that.
Hmm.
If that's the goal, if the theme of my story is life is wonderful and I always succeed. But then I had to look at my theme at that point was life sucks and then you die.
Yep.
And then I thought, if I'm going to change that to life is beautiful and then you succeed, I need new characters, or I need to see my characters, my current characters, with different eyes. That's when I started to understand my parents and their challenges. But that's when I decided I didn't want my ending to be life sucks and then you die. I wanted my ending to be life is beautiful and then you succeed. So,
100%. It's that story that sometimes we live. I mean,
but
or
see
the
that those themes are the beliefs.
Yep,
That
100%. It's one of the stories I was just going to say when I was fairly successful working at a job, and then around the time my ex-wife and I got pregnant with our first child, I got an opportunity to take a new job, and my grandfather, who I respected greatly, he was like, "Absolutely not. You have a reputation. Why would you take a risk? You have a family. What are you going to do?" And I did take the chance, and it worked out really well for me. But a lot of people might have held themselves back, and I just saw this as an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. And he then years later, I found out that he had an opportunity similarly, but he didn't take that opportunity, and he regretted not doing it. But he wanted, we want to protect, and a lot of times again, it's the way we protect ourselves or the people around us that doesn't always come, isn't as clear as we would like it to be.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people are walking around with messages. The one thing I tell people, here's another big clue. The minute you say, well, I
Do it.
should is a story.
Yep.
Should is somebody telling you don't take a risk, stay small, um, act like a good young lady. Don't be so busy and quiet. Sit still and behave yourself. Should. Well, I shouldn't take that risk. That's somebody telling you, play it safe. Life is scary. You got to protect yourself. A should is always a story that somebody put on you.
Yep. I would agree with that. And I would just go, okay, so the should is then you should get more information. I tell my kids that all
Yes.
the time is if you're really unsure, look, sometimes you're going to have to make a decision, but not making a decision is still a decision.
Yep.
We have to recognize that as well. It's not just, oh, well, I made a decision and I lost the opportunity. You made the decision to not respond, and
Yeah.
that's the opportunity you lost. So
Yeah.
again, that becomes a story, and that's where we dive deeper into it. I just wrote a book with some stories like that where people wanted to make a decision and regret. I mean, I personally have plenty of regrets in my life that if I didn't say something differently to feed into the story that somebody was thinking about me, or I allowed some of that to happen, or that I just, made my mistakes. So how would you suggest when we rewrite the story to rewrite it with a more level of truth, not just, you know, somebody did something to Dave and those are the bad people, to not recognize, to also be able to recognize Dave was the bad guy also in this story.
Yeah. Um, it comes back to forgiveness and it comes back to it, even though I am a big proponent of it is about all about me, you know.
Yeah.
I we also know it's all about you too. And in order, it's an interesting juxtaposition. It's an interesting paradox that it's all about me and it's all about you.
Mm.
So how do we coexist like that? And that's where when I encourage people to be their true selves, because I think a lot of conflict comes up when we're play acting, when we're not who we really are. And I think at the heart of it all, we really are good people. I know a lot of people get mad at me, but I even think some of the harshest criminals and some of the craziest politicians in the world, I think at the heart of it all, they're all good people. They've
Well,
forgotten that. They've forgotten that, and they become looking for power over
yeah.
rather than power together. And and I think that that's something they have to deal with in their own personal lives, but making peace with the fact that we have made mistakes.
Mm.
We have done people wrong. We have hurt people, usually because of our own messed up stories.
Sure.
So this is where self-forgiveness comes in. To recognize that yes, we can be not so good. We can make mistakes. We can act out in a moment of energy and emotion. We're human.
And that's part of it. We having these type of conversations still make us even more human, right? There's more
Yes.
levels of human as we go through talking about it, learning that sometimes we deserve to be the bad person uh in somebody's story, and we can take that opportunity to learn how to do things differently. If we don't want to be the bad person, that we can't, but we can always go forward and move it forward. So once that
Yes.
story is written in somebody else's head, it's really tough to unwrite it, but we can do that for ourselves and be the best version of ourselves. As you were saying before, I always say, be your most authentic self, and then it's easy to manage rather than putting up extra guards and shields.
Yeah, and I also think being accountable. I mean, I have a younger sister that's the only one in my family I still talk to. And she and I have talked forever about our childhood. You know, when you read the book, you'll understand why. And as a result of that, I did some pretty crappy things to her.
Mm.
And I said to her one day, you know, I was a real shit when I was a teenager, and I really was abusive with you. She said, oh, I didn't. She tried to brush it off. And I said, no, I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me. To that younger sister of mine who was just a young little girl. You were 10 years old, and I just said some real crappy things to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'll tell you what, that's brought us even closer. She
Yeah.
and I talk now we talk about these things freely, and she'll say to me, you know, when you did that, I really hated you. And I said, yeah, I hated myself. That's why I did it to you. I was dealing with my own self-hatred and self-loathing. So you build intimacy that way. You build this knowingness that this person knows me so well.
Yep.
But when you can be accountable like that for your own actions and your own mistakes, again, it's freeing. It sets you free. It helps you with forgiveness. It helps you know that at the heart of it all, you're a good human being.
100%. I did that with my own mother. At one point, I was mainly a good kid, but there were some things I did that were less good. And I remember, it was about a year, probably a year and a half before she passed. But I made sure that I made time. She had moved out of town. I used to be her caregiver, and she moved out of town. And I said I didn't know how often I was going to come to visit her, but I wanted to sit down and have a talk. And of course, many mothers. Don't worry, it's all fine. It's all fine. I go, no, no, no. I need to say this, and it is for you. And that's why when my mom did transition eventually, uh, I had gone down there a few weeks before just to say, hey, look, this is what's going to happen, but not to have those conversations anymore, to just meet her where she was at. And, even when it was getting closer, very close to the end, people asked me, was I going to go back down? I go, no, there's nothing for me to do. There was nothing for me to say. She wasn't in a vocal mood, not mood. She wasn't able to communicate. This isn't Hollywood. I don't need to be there when something happens. I'll be there to take care of the things that I need to. And for me,
Yeah,
that was very peaceful. Some people struggle with that, and I had lots of people who tried to push their story on me, and I go, I'm as comfortable as I'm going to get. I'm still going to cry, and you're still going to go through those situations.
yeah,
It's the idea of forgiving for you, if not having those great conversations that you're now able to have with your sister. That just shifts both of your lives and the energy around that. I love hearing that.
yeah. Well, we're human. We make mistakes. We do stupid, stupid things. Oh my God. Especially teenagers and young adults. You have to have we have to have the space to make a mistake. That's
Yep.
how we learn. That's how.
100%. Yep. You got to learn
So
from your mistakes. We
you
did
can't.
that as
I don't
children.
want to try to protect you and put you in a box.
Yep.
Don't want to do that. I mean, I have a stepson and he was 24 and he wanted to go to England to see a soccer match. And his dad was saying, well, think about the consequences. Think about it. I said, give me the phone.
Ah,
I said, how old are you? He said, 24. I said, get on the goddamn plane, go to England. This is when you make these mistakes.
right. We're here to
This is
pick you
when,
up. We're here to pick you up. I mean, and we'll
and of
figure it out afterwards.
And of
100%.
course, and of course, we were getting ready to go to Amsterdam. We get a call from him, and we're at the airport to go to Amsterdam. And he's like, "I got drunk with a bunch of my mates here in Ireland, and I missed the plane. What do I do?" And bless Simon's heart, he said, "You'll figure it out. I believe in you." And you know what? He came back from that trip, and he said that was the best thing you could have ever done for me because I figured it out, and I knew I could handle it.
Yep.
I believed in myself that I didn't have to go running to dad every time I had a problem.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes those helicopter parents or people who do that, and I'm guilty of it at times. As a protector, I want to protect, but you need to get those bumps and bruises and scrapes because then you learn how to ride your bicycle that much better.
Yeah, yeah. I won't let you do serious damage. I'll protect you from serious damage, but make mistakes.
For
Figure it
sure.
out. Because I trust you and I believe in you and I know you're a smart person and you'll figure it out.
Okay. Uh, that's exactly right. All right, so I've taken up a lot of your time. I'd like to. How can we contact you or buy your book? So,
Go to my website, carriekcwest.com. That's CarrieKCWEST.com. And there's links to get my books and there's all my podcasts and there's a whole resource center with lots of information that you can get.
okay, and what I usually do is I ask one of two things. I either ask if you have one more nugget or a seed that we could plant in the magic garden that might grow either right now or in the future, with all the knowledge that you have by creating your book and your upcoming book, right? Your past book, Life Rewritten, and then you're going to be writing a book about love rewritten.
Mhm. Well, I would say one of the greatest things that holds us back is fear, and especially fear of the unknown. I know people say, I'd rather the devil I know than this other devil. How do
Mm.
I how do I know there's not a bigger devil that's worse and scarier if I make these changes? I will tell you, you can make it through the changes.
Yep, we definitely will grow through the changes and make it through.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time as always, and uh, for everybody else, just want to wish you some peace and love as always. And when you're swinging your bat, make sure you hit your sweet spot and knock it out of the park. Thanks so much, Carrie.
Thanks, David.
Okay, so all right, with this computer, I can't. Why can't I stop the recording? But okay, we'll figure that out. Thank you so much. I'll cut this part out of it at the end. Let me shut that off.
That was fun. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it again. So when you get Love Rewritten, I'd love to hear more about Love Rewritten because I think we all want to kind of rewrite some of the stories that we've had, and as